In a merciless world, where souls fall one after another into endless darkness, a strange curse was born. A cursed skill called Undead Manifestation, a skill everyone thought was an eternal curse, but it turned into the greatest weapon. He's no longer an ordinary human. He became the unbeatable Necromancer, capable of summoning armies of the dead and controlling countless souls. Everyone who stands before him, alive or dead, is destined to bow before a power that knows no defeat. This isn't just a story, it's the beginning of a legend of immortality and destruction. Our story begins with a massive gate, and there's a guard standing there. A person comes up to him and shows him a badge. The guard tells him the corpse disposal destruction team is fighting inside. Don't go into the dungeon. So our hero enters through the gate and finds a place with statues and a corpse in front of him, and there's a girl and a boy standing in front of a dragon. Suddenly our hero appears behind them, and the boy asks him who he is. Our hero shows him that he's from the destroyed corpse disposal team, and his name is Yuga, and Yuga stands in front of the dragon. He takes off his clothes, and suddenly Yuga's appearance changes, and he gets power in his body. Yuga casts a magic spell, and it appears under the boy and girl, and they're shocked when they see the magic spell. Suddenly, a dragon appears with Yuga riding it, and the blue dragon attacks Yuga and his dragon. The boy and girl get scared when they see this. Then, Yuga flies with his dragon and calls out to the boy and girl, saying, "Let's go," and the dragon attacks the blue dragon with fire power and sets the blue dragon on fire. The boy and girl are shocked when they see this. Then Yuga tells the dragon to go back, and the boy and girl can't believe what happened, and they say, "Is this guy the forbidden necromancer?" And we see after that, the corpse disposal team in a place with a monster, and Yuga is there cutting up the monster's corpse. His commander comes, and his name is Daijuro, and he tells him, "Don't let your caution weaken you," and the hell lizard's body contains deadly poison liquid. Even the slightest skin contact will kill you, and you can make up for not having a skill with experience. And we learn that Yuga is on the corpse disposal team and dismantles monster corpses and turns them into materials, and he doesn't have any skills. And 7 years ago, places suddenly appeared called dungeons, and monsters came out of them that threw the world into chaos. In the middle of all this, magical power appeared from the dungeons, and humans gained skills, and some of them got a power called Geiger, and they became able to face the monsters. But I didn't have any skills. And we go back to the present time, and Kiriko is with him on the team, and she tells Yuga, "You've become skilled." Yuga gets embarrassed when Kiriko tells him this. Then someone on the team named Satoru tells him, "What's wrong? Why is your face so red?" Kiriko tells him Yuga is cute. Yuga tells her, "Please don't embarrass me." Satoru tells him, "I see you're developing." Kiriko tells him, "You'll make Yuga surpass you." Then Yuga takes the part he made and puts it in the box. And Yuga says these materials become research materials for unknown medicines. So if we take them to the Geiger Association, we can exchange them for a suitable reward. A person takes one of the materials and tells Yuga this is taken by whoever can eliminate the monsters, and throws the bag at Yuga. And Yuga is from the demolition team for corpse disposal, which is subcontractors hired by the Geiger company for a small reward. Because we're subcontractors, we can't challenge Geiger clients, even though we're upset. And Yuga goes to sit with his team at a restaurant. Satoru asks him, "You were wishing you could be from Geiger." Yuga tells him no. Kiriko tells them Yuga's father and mother were S-rank Geigers. Satoru is shocked when he learns this and tells Yuga your father and mother were S-rank. Kiriko tells them there's only a few of them. Yuga tells them I wanted to be one of them. But 7 years ago when the monsters attacked, my father and mother disappeared, and my sister Rina couldn't walk because of her injury. Satoru tells him so your father and mother have skills, and you don't have any skills. Yuga tells him no. Kiriko gets angry and grabs him by his clothes. Yuga tells them I haven't given up yet. If I could have Geiger, I would have allowed my sister to live, and the reason I accepted the corpse disposal job is because I want to be close to Geiger. So I want to be a Geiger like them. They encourage each other to become Geigers. Commander Daijuro tells them let's go to the next site. Satoru asks him, aren't we going to rest? Yuga tells Daijuro, I love corpse disposal. Daijuro tells him I know. Satoru tells him you love the corpse disposal job that requires 3 conditions. Daijuro grabs him and asks him what are the 3 conditions. Satoru tells him that's what I'm talking about, and Yuga wants to be from Geiger. And we see after that Commander Daijuro going to the gate location, and he tells them this is a C-rank gate. Yuga is shocked when he hears this. Satoru asks him, this is your first C-rank, Yuga. Are you scared? Yuga tells him nothing like that. The commander tells them even if it's a high rank, what was done before is the same as what will be done now. Then they enter the gate and find dead monsters. Kiriko tells Yuga, do you know the dungeon rumor? They say the souls of humans who die in the fortified towers can't find peace and become monsters. Satoru laughs and asks her, do you believe stories like this? Kiriko asks him, do you want to try it? Daijuro tells him you better talk or we'll leave you here. Suddenly, they find a huge dead monster in front of them, and they find other people standing there. The girl's name is Kagari. Satoru is shocked when he sees the girl. Daijiro tells them, I'm the commander of the corpse disposal team. A person named Geiger tells Yuga, you're using equipment, you don't have a skill. Kagari tells him, stop what you're doing. Geiger tells Yuga, a person who doesn't possess a skill is simply incompetent, and the corpse disposal team are crazy people who enjoy slicing open monsters' bellies. It wouldn't be strange if there are incompetent people among them. Yuga gets upset at his words. He uses his power and tells Yuga, don't be arrogant, I can turn you into charcoal. But Kagari stops him from what he's doing and uses her power and protects Yuga and tells him as a team leader, I can't watch you do this and stay quiet. Geiger insults them and leaves. Kagari goes to Daijiro and says, we'll be standing outside. Let us know when you're done. Yuga says Kagari really deserves to be called the daughter of skills, but Kiriko comes and asks him, are you okay? Daijiro tells Yuga, there's nothing to be ashamed of. No one can do what we do. Whether you have a skill or not doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they say. You just need to be yourself. Let's start. And Geiger wants to leave, but Kagari tells him, didn't you promise us you'd stay here? He tells her we can ask headquarters to hand over these things. And also the team leader saw me deliver the finishing blow to the boss. Let's go. They all exit the gate, and Kagari leaves with them. And we go back to the corpse disposal team, and Yuga thinks and says, if something like what I'm in continues like this, it won't last forever. Suddenly the monster looks at Yuga, and Yuga tells them the monster is still alive. The monster stands back up again, and the Geiger failed to confirm the kill. They're scared of the monster, and Daijiro tells them run toward the door. They run toward the door, and they don't know what's happening. They reach the door to open it, but Yuga is shocked when he sees a huge rock thrown at them, and it's the monster who threw the rock. Kiriko tells them the door. Yuga falls on the ground, and the monster attacks him. Yuga isn't moving, but suddenly, Daijiro manages to block the monster's strike and uses his powerful arm force. Yuga is shocked when he sees this. Daijiro tells him, I can't take more than this. There's a hole there, but the monster hits Daijiro with a strong blow. Yuga and Kiriko are shocked when they see this. Kiriko tells Yuga, we have to run. Yuga tells her, I can't do that, but she grabs his hand and they run and hide. But Satoru tells them, what are we going to do? It's coming at us from there. Kiriko asks him, what skill do you have? Satoru tells her, wind attribute. She tells him, can you use Sonic Edge? Satoru tells her, but that's an attack technique. Yuga is shocked by her words and says to her, you. She tells him, we're going to fight the monster. Satoru tells them, no, this is a C-rank monster. We can't handle it because we don't have the experience to win. Kiriko screams and tells them, I know that, but if we keep running, we'll die. Satoru doesn't know how to use the technique properly and activates the Windblade skill, and he manages to do it. Kiriko tells Yuga, stop here. Yuga thinks and says, in a situation like this, I can't do something like this. Kiriko tells Satoru, start attacking. Yuga thinks and says, why don't I have any power? Kiriko and Satoru go to kill the monster. Kiriko activates her power and manages to stop the monster and calls on Satoru to attack the monster. Satoru attacks the monster, but the monster hits him and finishes him off. Yuga and Kiriko are shocked when they see this. The monster's arm is cut off, and Kiriko is lying in front of the monster. Then it attacks Kiriko and kills her. The monster goes toward Yuga, and Daijiro is lying on the ground. The monster raises its leg and Yuga is about to die, but Daijiro comes and stops the monster before it attacks Yuga. Daijiro tells Yuga, run and don't give up. After that, Yuji falls to the ground and looks at Satoru and Kiriko, and says, if only I was stronger, if only I had a skill. Then, Yuji pulls out his weapon and attacks the monster, striking it with the weapon in its body, and keeps hitting the monster with the weapon he has. After that, Yuji falls into a strange place and finds a tree growing there, and this tree has the heads of all his team members who died. So Yuji is shocked when he sees this. Then a scary-looking monster appears in front of him. Yugi got scared as soon as he saw this monster in front of him, and asked him, who are you? And he told him, I am the Beast Ruler. Yugi trembled and said in amazement, the Beast Ruler? So he told him, I can gather the bodies of the dead in the dungeons. Yugi thought and said in amazement, so I am dead. I can't do anything. I can't save anyone. He remembered his sister, his mother and father, and his dead friends, and his leader who used to tell him not to give up. How could I die without doing anything? The monster asked him, do you want to return to Earth? Yugi replied, of course I want to go back. The Beast Ruler said to him, even if you do go back, what can you do without your skills? It'll be as if you were dead and can't do anything. Yugi was annoyed and didn't know what to do. The Beast Ruler asked him, do you want power? Yugi was surprised by his words and said, what? Power? Yugi said, maybe so. The Beast Ruler said, I can give you a skill and send you back to the world, and that skill is very powerful. But in the end, that skill will swallow you up and turn you into someone who will kill you, someone who hunts ghosts. Do you have the power to become that? Yugi remembers everything that happened and how people acted. Yugi cries and says, I couldn't do anything while they died in front of love me. If I can avenge my friends, it doesn't matter if I become a killer. The beast ruler gives him superhuman strength, and Yugi falls from afar. What? Where am I? He says. He sees the system and finds he has a skill. The system shows that Yugi now has the immortality skill, and the system asks him if he wants to activate this skill or not. Yugi says, I'll activate it. And when Yugi wakes up to activate the skill, suddenly his body changes and transforms into a strange power, and Yugi comes back to life and stands up again. He looks at his body and says, I look like a monster, but it doesn't matter if I can kill the monster. Yugi runs at great speed toward the monster, and the monster looks at him in disbelief. Yugi jumps up and attacks the monster, hitting the monster with a strong blow to the point that his hand breaks. The monster looks at him and hits him with a strong blow that sends him flying. Yugi falls to the ground and hits it hard. He looks at his body and his hand and finds them broken, but the healing power helps Yugi return to normal. Yugi is surprised when he finds his body returning to normal. A message appears from the system telling him that the healing effect doesn't run out, it continues with you. Yugi says, so I won't die, even from fatal wounds, but my body still hurts. Then the monster attacks Yugi and hits him with a strong blow with its hand that finishes him off. The monster lifts its hand to see what happened to Yugi, and Yugi stands up again, and he's still alive, but his face and body are destroyed. Yugi says, let's see who will last till the end. The monster screams in Yuji's face, but Yugi jumps on the monster and jumps up, hitting it with a strong blow in its eye. Then Yugi falls to the ground and gets injured in his hand, but he notices that his hand returns to normal like it was. But the monster attacks him and steps on him with its leg, crushing him and making him fall to the ground. Yugi is surprised when he finds himself still alive. The monster attacks him again and hits him with a strong blow to his body, and Yuji's hand gets cut off from his body. The monster takes a huge rock and attacks Yugi with it, hitting him with it hard. But a message appears from the system to Yugi, saying when the skill points reach 0, the immortality feature will be deactivated. Yugi says, I have to finish it off. The monster hits him with a strong blow, and Yugi doesn't know what to do. But suddenly, a strange power appears on Yugi, and power comes out from the bodies of his team and goes to Yugi. His team turns into skeletons, and Yugi remembers Kiriko's words when she was telling him, there's a rumor that says the souls of humans who die in the dungeon don't find peace. And a message appears from the system saying to Yugi, do you want to be the commander of these corpses? Yugi remembers the monster's words to him when it was telling him you can control the dead. He says this is what he was talking about. I'll go to my team. Yugi goes to the captain and takes his power, and gathers the team to attack the monster. The monster attacks them, wanting to hit them, but the captain makes a shield and blocks the monster's strike. Yugi is surprised when the captain does this, and Yugi tells them to attack the monster. The captain hits it with a strong blow, and the monster falls to the ground. Yugi says, I see they're moving like I'm thinking. Yugi sees their skills and tells them to fight with him. He tells Satoru to attack, and Satoru activates his skill, Wind Blade, and attacks the monster and hits it in its leg with the sword, a strong blow. Yugi tells them who attacks next. Kiriko activates Earth Poison skill and uses a stone bow and shoots arrows at the monster, but it tries to block them. Then the captain attacks the monster and grabs it by its leg, activates his skill, throws it far away, and smashes it into the rocks. Yugi looks at it and finds the monster fallen on the ground. The monster gets up and attacks them, but they attack it and make the earth hold it in place. Yugi says, I won't let you go. Kiriko is the one who did that to the monster using her skill. Yugi says, I'll finish you off. Satoru prepares himself and holds the sword. The captain takes the sword, and Yugi orders him to attack the monster. The captain takes the sword to attack the monster, holds the sword and throws it with all his strength at the monster. The sword goes to the monster, destroys the rocks, and the sword goes up. Yugi jumps and grabs his sword, attacks the monster with it, and strikes it in its eye. Then Yugi comes down to the ground, and the monster falls and doesn't get up again. Messages appear from the system to Yugi, telling him about the skills. Yugi pulls out his knife and says, I have to get revenge. He attacks the monster, but the captain stands in front of him and prevents him from doing that. He looks at the captain, and Yugi remembers him, as if he's standing in front of him looking at him. Yugi apologizes to him. Then Yugi returns to his normal form, and says the monster's words were right. Then, Yugi feels tired and falls to the ground, saying this is the skill's reaction. Yugi can't get up, and says thanks to the team I was able to defeat the monster. Yugi wakes up and finds himself in the hospital, and doesn't know where he is. He says, where's my team? When he remembers what happened, he gets up shocked, and says everyone who was in the dungeon. He remembers his boss when he was attacking the monster, and says the whole team died. But this skill, he presses on something called storage, and finds his team. Suddenly he finds someone knocking on the door. Yugi tries to hide the system window. The door opens and it's his sister, Rina. She's surprised as soon as she sees her brother awake. She runs to him and tells him, you're stupid. When I heard about the dungeon death incident, I thought my heart would stop. But Yugi isn't paying attention to her, and is thinking about the skill he has. Then his sister looks at him and tells him, I know you work for me, but I don't want you to do anything wrong, because I don't want to lose anyone else from my family. Yugi calms her down. But suddenly Kagari and Jaegerch walk in on them. and they're surprised as soon as they see them. Kagari says sorry for the surprise visit. Jaegerch tells her we didn't need to come here. Kagari tells him I saw the incident that happened on the cameras, and it was a tragic scene, and what happened was our responsibility. I just came to apologize to you. Rina says, are they from Jaeger? Kagari tells her Rina your name was in Yuji's file, and introduces herself telling her, I'm from Jaeger. Rina thanks her for saving her brother, but Jaegerch gives her a bad reply. Yuji gets upset at Jaegerch's words. Kagari tells him stop what you're doing. Yuji tells Rina to go out because there's something I want to talk about. Rina tells him okay and is leaving, and tells them surely your work has secrets. But Kagari stands in front of her and tells her I'm coming with you, but Jaegerch upsets her with his words. Yuji gets upset at his words and tells him I have nothing to say to you. Can you leave? Jaegerch tells him, I'll think about it if you pay me the reward money. We're the ones who brought you here. Yuji tells him you did that. Jaegerch tells him, I said let's leave you. No point in wasting our effort on you. Yuji gets upset at his words. Jaegerch tells him you're the one who entered the dungeon and chose to work knowing the dangers, and whatever happens to you is your responsibility. Yuji thinks and says to himself, everything was my choice. I understand all that. He remembers the monster's words to him. Yuji tells him, isn't this because you couldn't finish off the monster? Jaegerch tells him you and your team. When you chose to be part of the corpse disposal team, you were saying your lives have no value. Yuji tells him how can you say that? Yuji gets angry at him. Kagari is standing outside hearing everything. Yuji is yelling at Jaegerch. Jaegerch gets angry at him and attacks him and grabs him. But Kagari enters and tells him to let go of Yuji, and uses her power and pushes him away from him. She apologizes to Yuji and tells him I'll apologize to the families of the deceased. Yuji tells her the captain and the rest of the team don't want to hold anyone responsible for what happened. But suddenly a person enters and says someone activated a skill here. Jaegerch goes to get up. Kagari tells him it was a misunderstanding. This person's name is Shinza, and he tells Yuji I'm Shinza, a skills investigator from the Jaeger Association. Yuji is surprised when he learns that Shinza is a skills investigator. Shinza says, I'll examine now using my skill analysis, because the incident that happened has many puzzling points. I learned that your team was killed, yet we're not finding their bodies. Where did they disappear? And how was a C-rank monster defeated? This means there was a person of C rank or higher, yet there was no one but the corpse disposal team present. Using unregistered skills is illegal. That's why I want to verify your abilities. Jaegerch tells him it's impossible for this person to have abilities. Shinza uses his ability. Yuji says when an ability is activated, it gets registered in the Jaeger Association, and an irregular person like me, if I'm discovered to have used a cursed skill, I wouldn't be surprised if I was treated as a test subject. Then the window appears and displays Yuji's information to Shinza and says there are no skills. Yuji is surprised as soon as he learns this. So Kagari and Jaegerch are standing there waiting to find out if Yuga has skills or not, but Shinza tells them that the investigation is over, looks like we rushed into doing this, and he thanks them and leaves. Then Jaegerch says, I told you this guy doesn't have any skills. He's using a window device, and he leaves the place. So Kagari tells Yuga, my little brother was like, you didn't have any skills, but I thought I could protect him. I was arrogant. If you face any problems, you can call me. And she leaves the place. Shinza is walking in the garage and getting into his car. Then Jaegerch comes to him and asks, Shinza, why did you investigate whether Yuga has a skill or not? Shinza tells him we're the Jaeger Association. We aim to investigate new types of skills. Jaegerch says, I know that well. So Shinza tells him then you should understand why we investigated him, who defeated a C-rank monster. Then, Kagari comes and tells them the 3 members of the corpse disposal team and the monster's remains disappeared. That's what I said in the hospital room. Shinza tells them with this massacre, it wouldn't be normal for all the remains to be preserved. The problem is, how are they still there? There was nothing there except traces of destruction. At the scene of the incident were the 3 deceased members of the corpse disposal team and Yuga. None of them had any combat experience, and they didn't have the skills that would allow them to defeat a monster like that. Kagari asks him, is there a new type of skill? Shinza tells her, yeah, an ability through which you can erase the remains and defeat a C-rank monster. If this skill really exists, we need to put it under surveillance. Kagari tells him we suspected Yuga because he's the only one who survived the monster. Shinza tells her it was wrong to assume that the one who did this was Yuga, and knowing whether it was him or not isn't important. Then, Shinza gets in his car and leaves. Jaegerch asks her an ability through which you can defeat a C-rank monster. Kagari tells him the association would want to track any Jaeger like that. Jaegerch tells her a B-rank Jaeger or higher. Kagari imagines a B-rank person or higher, and thinks and says a skill through which you can hide corpses. What could that be? We go to Rina, who's sleeping next to Yuga. Yuga wakes up and finds her sleeping beside him. He remembers his memories with his family, and remembers the day his father and mother left him and his sister, and his father telling him don't look back and run, and his mother telling him don't let go of Rina's hand. Yuga runs away with his sister, and there's a huge monster behind them. We return to the present, and Yuga is sitting next to his sister, and he hears her saying Papa and Mama, so he holds her hand. He enters the system window and opens the immortality skill, and finds it written that the immortality skill is hidden and protected so people don't know about it. After 3 days, Yuga leaves with his sister, Rina, and they're walking in the street. Rina asks, Yuga, are you sure you're okay to leave the hospital? Yuga tells her I'm fine. The test showed there's nothing wrong with me. Rina tells him go on ahead because I'm going to buy some things. I'll make a surprise for you to celebrate you getting out. Yuga asks her, will you be okay alone? She tells him you know how much I move around alone, and his sister leaves him and walks away. Yuga keeps looking at her, and remembers Jaeger's words that were bothering Rina, and he thinks and says a person like that in Jaeger, even if your status is high, you're a trash person. I wanted to be a Jaeger. I want to be a shield for people like my family. I wanted to be a sword that fights monsters. I thought that this could come true. He remembers when Shinza tried to see his skill, and saw that his skill is protected and hidden. Even if I have a skill, I can't do this publicly. That's why I can't be a Jaeger. When I made a deal with the monster, I won't be able to be a Jaeger for the rest of my life. Then suddenly he finds people running away, and he finds the officials saying that an E-rank dungeon has opened, and they tell people to run. Yuga remembers Rina and looks to find the gate opened, and a monster comes out of it attacking people. Yuga wants to go back to Rina, and he says, aren't there any Jaegers? The monsters attack people and kill them and destroy the city, and Yuga sits on the ground. Yuga sees people being attacked while they're in the bus, and there's a huge monster attacking people. Yuga remembers his sister Rina and imagines her in the store she's shopping at, and the monster destroys the place and enters. Yuga says there's no Jaeger, they're not here. Yuga activates his ability and says in undead mode my physical abilities increase, and I can stay alive as long as the magic points are still there. I have to find Rina and escape from here. Yuga sees the monsters attacking a woman with her daughter. Yuga remembers his father's words telling him to run, and he sees the monsters breaking the place to reach the mother and her daughter, and he sees the girl crying, but Yuga attacks the monster and hits it with a strong kick. The girl is shocked when she sees Yuga was able to hit the monsters. The monster attacks Yuga from behind, but Yuga takes out his weapon and strikes the monster, cutting its neck. Another monster attacks Yuga, but Yuga blocks its attack with the knife. Another monster attacks Yuga from behind and wounds him in his body. Yuga jumps up and comes down on the monster, killing it with the knife. Another monster attacks Yuga, but he manages to kill it with the knife. The mother and her daughter warn him about the monster's attack, so Yuga looks and finds the monster attacking him with a sword trying to kill him, but Yuga jumps up and dodges the monster's attack. The monster screams. Yuga says the orc's head is hard, and its upper part is all muscles, so this knife I have won't do anything to it. To be able to finish off the orc, you have to hit it in the leg. He attacks the monster and hits it in the leg, cutting it. The monster falls to the ground, and Yuga runs and jumps up and attacks the monster, hitting it with the knife in its head. The mother and her daughter are shocked by what Yuga did and thank him. Yuga tells them this place is dangerous and you have to run. Yuga looks at the people being attacked. If I help every person being attacked, I won't arrive in time. He hears the girl telling him good luck, Jaeger. He says I'm not a Jaeger. I don't have any responsibility to save people. I need to save Rina and escape, but if I don't stop what's happening, the people here will die. If I attack the dungeon, the monsters inside it will die. He stops and apologizes to his sister and prepares himself to enter the dungeon. He runs toward the monsters. At that moment, I didn't think about what I was going to do, and the Jaeger didn't arrive in time, or maybe they're not interested in an E-rank dungeon. I have to be a Jaeger because this skill isn't supposed to be known by people. I don't have to say who I am. Yuga runs toward the gate. Yuga approaches the gate, and there's a monster coming out of it. He notices that the gate has separate entrance and exit. Without a skill, the dungeon door won't open, and if it doesn't open, I won't be able to raid the dungeon, and I won't be able to save anyone. I know I have a skill, but it's a cursed skill. Yuga uses his ability to open the dungeon, and he's shocked when he finds that the dungeon opened. Then he enters and finds a large number of monsters there. Yuga thinks and says a large number of orcs are here and close to the exit. Yuga activates his skill, takes out the knife, and attacks a large number of monsters, killing them all with the knife. But he sees a huge bull standing next to him. Yuga says, I knew you'd be here. You're the boss, right? You're C-rank, like the giant I killed. Yuga doesn't know how he'll defeat all these monsters. The monsters attack him, but Yuga uses his ability and brings out Yuga's team. Yuga asks them to help in the fight. The monsters attack them, and Yuga tells them we need to scatter the front line. He uses his ability, and they attack them. Kiriko attacks them and makes an explosion in the ground, but the monsters escape and attack them. But the captain grabs one of them and kills it. Yuga looks at the captain and tells him, you're the one left. Yuga says the monster's body is strong from above and agile from below, but its weak point is in the waist. The monster takes the cross and attacks Yuga and his team, but the captain blocks the cross. The captain activates his power to attack the monster. The monster takes another cross and throws it at them, but they dodge the attack. Kiriko attacks the monster and hits it with an arrow. The arrow goes in the monster's eye. The captain attacks it and hits it with the sword in its belly. Satoru attacks it and hits it with a strong blow, breaking its horn. Yuga attacks the bull and hits it with the knife, splitting it in half. The bull screams. Yuga jumps and breaks its other horn, but Yuga sees the bull crying tears, and he says, "This is the first time I see this, but that's it. I'm done with the dungeon." And Yuga is standing there, not knowing why the gate didn't close, and we go to the store where Reina is, and the monsters start flying upward. So people see the monster as it starts falling, and they say that means the dungeon has been conquered, because the dungeon's power disappeared. That's why the monsters can't survive. When the parent dies, the child dies, and Reina is standing behind them and tells them there are people putting themselves in danger. So they look around to see who's talking, but don't find anyone. And Reina has gone to the elevator and is thinking about what the person said when the parent dies. The child dies. She's thinking and says, "I'm fine, but I'm worried about my older brother." Then she gets out of the elevator and remembers her memories with her family. Yuga says to his father and mother they are S-rank hunters, and there are only a few of them in the world. His mother tells him, "Yeah, that's right." So Yuga tells them they respond repeatedly to low-rank dungeon conquest requests. "I heard that strong hunters don't go to low-level dungeons because the rewards are small." His father tells him, "Yeah, that's right. Low-level towers have low danger, and that's the reason. They ignore these types of fortified towers, and the monsters attack people, and there are victims we can't reach in time to save. It might be a small number of people, but Yuga, if Reina was among those people, would you ignore her and consider her just a small number of people? That's why you need to be strong." Yuga and Reina are happy with their father's words. Their father tells them, "I think I overdid it." Yuga says, "I'll become a hunter. Protect people." Then we go to Yuga, who's standing in front of the gate, thinking and saying, "I'll leave the rest to the association. I need to get out of here before anyone discovers me." When Yuga looks at his team, he finds them still ready. Suddenly, he finds a strange power coming out of the bull, returning it back to its body. But its shape is different, and this monster's name is Behemoth, B rank. So the monster has evolved, and this phenomenon happens suddenly. He thinks and says, "Can I defeat this monster?" The monster screams, and suddenly other monsters come out, emerging from the gate. Yuga thinks and says, "If I don't defeat this monster, there will be victims, and Reina might be among the victims." He tells his team to attack the monsters, and he'll attack the leader. Then they attack the monsters, and Yuga thinks and says their weapons are huge fangs and a long tail. "If it had attacked me, it could have finished me off." The leader attacks and hits Yuga with a strong blow, hitting his team with him. The leader attacks him with his horn and kills him. Yuga feels there are many skulls beside him, and he feels his heart is in the darkness of death. He opens the system window and uses healing magic, and Yuga returns to how he was, but the monster attacks him again and strikes his body with his horn. Then he throws him against the pillar and Yuga falls to the ground. Yuga looks and sees the monster attacking him, but suddenly Yuga hears someone talking to him. He sees the monster in front of him and notices the monster's movements have stopped. He asks the monster, "Why are you here? Did you do this?" The monster tells him, "It's a simple matter that I'm here. I want to ask you a question. Why are you still fighting?" Yuga is surprised by his words. The monster tells him, "When you existed before, you wanted power to take revenge, and you were able to do that, so the reason for fighting is over." Yuga says, "I'm fighting to protect people." The monster tells him, "Just like your father and mother did. I saw your memories. The father and mother who risked their lives as heroes. You also wish to be like them. But what did humans do for them? For your failure to stop what happened 10 years ago, because you didn't have any abilities, and people said they weren't up to the responsibility, and mocked them, and treated your father and mother badly. This is the true nature of the humans you want to protect. There's no reason to save them. Admit that you want power because of hatred. Surrender and I'll give you greater power." Yuga thinks there are many bad people, and I went through a lot of bad experiences, and nothing changed. When I used power for the first time, I'd be a liar if I said I didn't feel upset. But I understood then, from the feelings I can suppress, because I have the power, and the people I want to keep alive, people I wanted to spend more time with. I wanted to save all the people, with all my strength, at least within reach. This is the kind of person my father and mother showed me. This is my reason for fighting. I'll keep fighting to protect humans. If you understand, give me your power." The monster tells him, "I'm enjoying this a bit. I want to see how long you'll keep saying this." He gives Yuga the power, and Yuga is able to return the leader to his original form. The monster attacks Yuga, but the leader grabs his leg, and Satoru also returns to his form, uses his power and strikes the monsters. The leader is surprised, and Yuga tells Kiriko to attack the leader. Kiriko uses her ability and makes the earth gather on the leader, and the monster transforms and becomes with Yuga, and they all stand behind him. Yuga understands and says, "The more I kill, the more monsters will be with me." No, This isn't about monsters. The monster tells Yuga that his team with him now is stronger than when they were alive. The monster screams, but Yuga tells the monsters to attack the leader. They try to hit him, but the leader is strong. The leader hits Yuga with his tail. Yuga takes out his knife and strikes the leader, saying, "I'll drain all your life force from inside." When he removes the knife, the monster falls to the ground and becomes a skeleton. The monster tells Yuga, "You'll entertain me." Yuga tells him, "Yeah, even if I can't become a hunter, what I'm doing won't change, like my father and mother." The monster tells him fighting while hiding his identity is disgusting, and the monster gives him power and tells him a farewell gift.